Okay, so you should be able to see a website on your screen. I can't actually see anyone now, so hopefully you can see this. Just shout out if you can't. So this page, when you've set up your login to the LifeQI website and you have your username and password, when you log in, you will come to a page that looks like this. So you will be taken to the home page for your team. So in this example, we're using the apprenticeships team from Health Education England as an example, but your own page will have your own team title at the top. So this is the landing page for LifeQI. So Kate and I are going to show you around the site and some of the key features that will be useful to you over the coming months. So you'll see this when you log in. You can navigate around the site from this page. The main ways that you'll do this are with the tabs here. So the tabs that say General, which is this page, Driver Diagram, Measures and Charts, PDSAs, and Discuss. But you can also use the icons here with the titles just underneath. So if I just go through these one by one, just very briefly. So this first one here is called your change score. So this is just something that LifeQI has on their page that teams can use to sort of track their progress through their quality improvement project. So through your project on the collaborative. We don't actually use it for anything on the collaborative, so this is purely optional. But if you click on the change score, you'll get some options pop up, which you can see here. And as you can see, it's just a way to track your progress through the collaborative. So actually everyone now, if you did want to change it, pretty much everyone's going to be on the 1.5, planning for the project has begun. But again, you don't need to use this. It's not going to feature. We're not going to use it at all in the collaborative. But some teams just quite like it as a visual way to track your progress. The second one is project team. So this will list all of the people that are registered on LifeQI to your team. So you can click on project team here, and to the side it should bring a little pop out. And basically, this will be a list of all the people that have registered and signed into your team on LifeQI. So here you can see that I'm this team's coach. So I am here. And then we've got the program overall, the admin overall. And then here at the bottom, so for most of you, your lead organisation, so your trust, or in this case, Health Education England, will also be invited. If the name of the person is in bold, like these top two, that means that they've accepted the invite and logged in. If it is greyed out, it means an invite has been sent, but it hasn't been accepted. So that person would not be able to see the project at the moment. Realistically, you probably won't have much to do with this because it should be the coaches that are inviting people to your pages on LifeQI. So if you do have people that you want to add, please let your coach know. Just because, as I said, we do have limited licenses. So if we want lots of people joining all the teams across the board, we'll just need to be a bit careful with that, and we might not be able to give licenses for LifeQI to everyone. The third image on your landing page is the driver diagram, which again you can access by clicking on driver diagram. So Kate's going to show you this in a little bit. The fourth one is measures, which I'm going to come on to next with you. And then the fifth one is where you can kind of log, record, reflect on the change ideas you're testing and the PDSAs that you've been doing. And again, Kate's going to go through that with you in a bit. But for your home page, that's pretty much all you need to know about. So the first one we're going to go through, which I'm going to go through with you, is measures and charts. So you can click the measures and charts tab at the top, or on that previous page, you can click the measures button underneath the image. This will take you to the measures and charts homepage. So here you can see the list of the 3 outcome measures for the collaborative. So you've got the number of people who've enjoyed being at work on a frequent basis, number of people who experience no symptoms of burnout at work, and the number of people who are extremely likely to recommend your team as a place to work. Each of those outcome measures will have their own chart. with that, because each of them will have their own data, and you'll be able to access each of those charts from this page, and you simply just click whichever one you want to go on to. As the data gets recorded, as you go through the collaborative, you'll see kind of like a mini version of the chart alongside each one. So I've put some dummy data in for the first outcome measure, so you can see an example of that here, just in case you were wondering what that was. To access each outcome measure and its own data in its chart, you simply just click on the outcome measure that you want to look at. And then this will take you to another page. Here we go. So this is the page for that specific outcome measure. So in this case, we're looking at the number of people who have enjoyed being at work on a frequent basis. And this is the page that you would come to if you wanted to edit the data or edit the charts. And I'm going to come on to in a second a reason why you might want to have access to this page, because there's a useful tool that you can use. Before I come on to that, I'm just going to explain this page. So you've got the title for the outcome measure that you're looking at up here. You don't need to worry about the plan tab. You should never need to click on that. You've got the title of the outcome measure that you're looking at here. This is also a link. So when you want to edit it, this is what you'll click to get a pop-up. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, you're able to see your data. So in quality improvement projects and in this collaborative, we're recording our data this is an SPC chart, and it's also a P chart. So essentially, all the data that you are collecting is converted into a percentage. So that's what P chart means. And then an SPC chart is a chart we can use to record data over time. So your charts won't look like this yet, because I've added in dummy data that we don't have yet. But you will probably, if you're set up on Improvewell already and your teams are filling in the surveys, your coaches will be able to enter some data, and you might have 1, 2, 3 points already. The reason that we wanted to show you this page is because there is a really useful tool you can use to annotate the charts. So to get onto the page to edit the charts, you just click on the box here, which should bring a pop-up, which you can see here. So it's very similar to the previous page, but here you have the chart at the top, and then I'll just scroll down, and then you can see all of the data. So this will be the data from the surveys that your team's filling out on Improvewell. You don't need to worry about this bit, because the QI coaches will enter this data onto LifeQI, this website, for you. So you won't need to do any of this bit. But I did just want to sort of explain it to you so you know what all the numbers mean. So in this case, we're looking at the outcome measure of number of people who have enjoyed being at work on a frequent basis. So what these numbers mean are, so here you've got the time period. So you've got the week that the surveys were completed. And then you've got two columns, one for count and one for total. So the total number is the number of people in your team that completed the survey. So the number of people in the team that responded to the question about enjoyment at work in the last week, in this example. So if you look at this top one, 20 people from this team responded to the survey. The count is the number of people that gave the response that we're looking for in the outcome measure. So in this example, we're looking at the number of people that enjoyed being at work on a frequent basis. So the count here, 10 people have responded saying that they have enjoyed being at work on a frequent basis in the last week. And then that would get converted to a percentage and would be put into the chart. You can see that there are some different numbers in the total column. So in an ideal world, every single member of your team will respond to the survey every single week. But obviously that's not always going to happen. People might be on leave, might be off sick. There might be other things that get in the way. So this number might differ slightly when you look at it, but hopefully it shouldn't be changing too much. And if you find that you're not getting very many responses consistently, then that's something to flag up with your QI coach, and we can sort of look at that with you. So that's the raw data. The the reason that we're looking at this is that you might want to annotate your charts as you go along. Because we're collecting the data in real time, this chart essentially tells your story through the collaborative. And you'll see that the data will go up and down, but there might be other bits of information that you can add to that helps you and us to interpret the data that's in that table. So you can annotate the charts. So this can be really useful. You can add when you started testing a particular change idea. So potentially at this point here, they might have introduced a new change idea, and then following that, but it might help to understand the data a little bit. Potentially that change idea has led to the start of an increase in people enjoying work. You can also add other notes. So sometimes people might have sort of what look like outlier results, so like an unusually high or an unusually low number, and that could be for lots of different reasons. There could be something going on within the team. There could have been changes within the team. You might have won an award, like all sorts of things. And it can be really helpful to add that information to the chart to understand the data a bit better. So if you want to do that, you've got the pop-up for the outcome measure up, and then you would click on edit here. You know that you're in edit mode because that button will switch to a save and cancel button. And then what you do is you would click on the data point for the week, the relevant week that you want to add the note to. They're very small here, so I can't actually read them. But essentially, if we pick this one, sort of the middle week, you should get this icon when you hover over it. You just click on that button, and then you'll get a pop-up here. So here you can add a note, so you can annotate that point with anything you want. If you are also using LifeQI to log your PDSAs, so your cycles of testing change ideas, you could also, say in this week you started testing a particular idea, they would appear in the drop-down box here, and you could add that. But you can also just add it here. So you could write whatever you want in the box, essentially. Add your note. You then literally just click away from it. And then hopefully what should happen is you should see a little button up here. So orange button if you've left an annotated note, a green button if you've linked a particular PDSA. And then that note is there, so that anyone that looks at this chart following this will be able to see that note. Make sure that you click save when you are done. Then that will return to the edit button, and then you can close the pop-up, and then you can see on your chart here that note is there, and anyone can just come and click the note, and they can see what you have written. So that is a very quick intro to the charts and how to annotate the notes, the charts. I'm hoping that Kate has joined us now.
I have had that.
Fab. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to hand over to Kate.
Hi. It's good to see everyone. I had some problems getting on, so I thought I might not be here at all, but I am. I'm going to share my screen and take you through the next parts, which will be the driver diagram and how to edit that, because as we've talked to you about already, the driver diagram's completely adaptable to your team. You've got the sort of program level 1 as a starting point, but you can change that to be more suitable to your setting. So if I just find the right screen to share with you, I'm going to use the same example that Matt's been using. So you're back on the home page on this view. Can everybody see my screen now?
Yes.
Great. So here we are back on the home page. You will, in order to look at the driver diagram, you need to click either up here on this menu or down here, it doesn't matter, into the driver diagram. And you'll then have a view here of the full driver diagram. at the moment, as we've sort of talked about in the launch event and when you've had meetings separately, we've got primary drivers and secondary drivers on this. So what you'll want to do within your teams is possibly move those about a bit. You might want to add some secondary drivers, or you might want to take some away and only work on certain ones to begin with, but you'll also want to add change ideas at some point. So the way to do that is much like you've seen in other screen or other sections, but if you click on edit at the top here, and I'm sure Matt mentioned, I wasn't listening to everything he said because I couldn't get him, but I'm sure he mentioned that you need to be really careful with LifeQI that you save everything that you do, that you don't click outside of the screen before you've saved something, because you will lose it. I've discovered through experience many times. So when you've clicked edit, you'll see that you get these additional sort of features pop up on the driver diagram. You've got these plus signs over here, and you've got the delete box, etc. So you can delete a driver if you wanted to. I won't do that to show you, because I'll just add time to sort of get that back. But you can easily delete something. You can change the color by clicking on this. So if you wanted to sort of order things by color in terms of your priorities or whatever, you can do that. But in order to add something, so for example, if you wanted to add a change idea to the driver focus on well-being, you click that plus sign on the side, like so, and it does this weird thing where it brings up a box that links to it, but strangely nowhere near the box that you've actually clicked on. So that's just a LifeQI quirk, I think. But you'll have a box that links to that, and you can type in whatever you want there. So for example, I know some teams have talked about a well-being hour fortnightly. As an example, you can change the color. So you might want to add the same color so that you know that it links to that particular driver, for example. And there you are, you've got your change idea linked to that. Once you've added in a few more change ideas, it does tend to reorder it in a bit more of a logical way. So it might end up closer to the driver you just linked it to. But your lines will connect them anyway. With some ideas, or some drivers, you might find that they link to more than one driver. So for example, this driver here, the secondary driver, space for individuality and creativity, is linked both to the primary driver, safety, and the primary driver, relationships, teamwork and camaraderie. In order to do that, you click on this little pin button here on this side, and you can then pin it to another driver. So maybe, I don't know, Wellbeing Hour Fortnightly might link also to Space for Individuality and Creativity, depending on what you're doing in that hour. So if I pin that there, I can then link it to that driver as well. So you've got two lines coming off. So that essentially is how you will go about adding anything to your driver diagram, and as I've said, you just use the delete button, the little bin button, to change it. You can also, when you if you find that the order of your driver, of your change ideas, etc., isn't logical, if it's muddled up, you can click on this and change it to manual ordering or automatic ordering. That sometimes changes things around and helps sort of lay it out a bit more clearly. It's not easy to show you an example of that at the moment because we haven't put enough change ideas in there. But what you'll then want to do is make sure that you save anything. So if you click outside of this before you've saved it, that driver won't, or that change idea that you've added won't stay there. So for the moment, because this is somebody's actual project space that we're using, I'm going to delete the one that I've just put in, and then I'm going to save that. You'll see that you get this page come up every time you try and save or do anything that may be out of the ordinary. And I'm going to click save. And you'll see that it hasn't changed for that reason. Does anyone, I don't know, Matt, whether you think it might be helpful to stop at this point on the driver diagram and see if anybody has any questions about anything that I can illustrate more clearly.
Yeah, we can do. I can. If anyone does have any questions, feel free to put your hand up because I can see you now. We will also have some time at the end. Can't see any hands going up.
Great. Well, then I'll move on. I'm going to talk you through as well how to put in a PDSA. So again, you want to click on your menu bar up here on PDSAs, Plan, Do, Study, Act cycles. So this is quite a good way to ensure that you keep track of all the different change ideas you might be testing. It's a good way to structure them in the PDSA format. When we take you through your first PDSAs as part of the program, in terms of having a meeting where we sort of talk you through, we'll use the Institute for Healthcare Improvements PDSA worksheet to help you work through it, because it's a bit more detailed in helping you really understand how to plan and sort of structure a PDSA cycle. But once you get familiar with that worksheet and familiar with the way in which PDSAs work, this is a good option to use just to keep track of all of the different ideas that you're testing. It's not quite as detailed as that worksheet, and you'll find that it won't prompt you to think about exactly the same things that that worksheet does, which is why we suggest starting with the worksheet, but then using this once you've familiarized yourselves with it. But once so in order to, this may not make a huge amount of sense yet because I know that we haven't gone through all of this with all of our teams, but let me just show you. And of course, I'm sure Matt mentioned already, your coach will be available to answer any of these questions as we go along. You can re-watch the recording. We're always happy to help where we can, or run a separate session with your team about on doing things like this as well. So don't worry too much if it doesn't all make perfect sense at this point. Right, so what you'll get is you'll get this little pop-up box that comes up when you click on add a new PDSA ramp on this corner here. Now, again, I don't feel like I can stress this enough. Don't click outside of this before you've saved anything. You go through several pages of this this pop-up in order to add all your different PDSA parts to your PDSA. It doesn't give you the option to save that until you get right to the end here, the fourth page. And if you click outside of it at any point before that, you'll lose all of what you've typed in. So you do need to be careful with that. Right, so the purpose of a new PDSA, I'm going to go with the same idea that I put into the driver diagram. So we'll call it well-being. The aim might be to improve if you've come up with some specific ideas that you're going to run during that hour. And you can hear in this box here that gives you the option to link it to one of the change ideas in your driver diagram. So this drop down button here will bring up all the change ideas that you've added into your driver diagram once they're there. We don't have that example because I deleted it, but you would normally have a link to those, anything that you've added to your driver diagram. You then click next. You then given the options of delegating a particular PDSA to somebody. So once you're all set up on the platform, you'll have this drop-down button here will give you the list of all your project team members. So you can delegate it to anybody you like. So at the moment, all we've got is me, Matt, and the general, overarching team, Health Education England and the collaborative. So you'll have all your team members here, so you can allocate it to whoever you've decided is going to be responsible for that particular PDSA. For the moment, I'll leave it as me. I'll try to. Maybe I'll have to select Matt. Matt, you're responsible for this. You can then set a date by which you want to you want to make sure that you've sort of got this done. So it might be within the next 2 weeks, for example. So let's say 26th. Although that says the 26th of August. That's And then where you can set where you want it to be done or not, as the case may be. And then you've got the option for sort of writing a list of notes for that. So something like set up a well-being noon at 3 p.m. You want to be as specific as possible with your notes and who's going to be doing the idea that you've sort of talked about, and this will be something that you've decided as a team in your project team meetings. It won't necessarily be just one person deciding on this for everybody, but you want to be clear about who's going to be doing it, where they're going to be doing it, how they're going to be doing it, quite specifically who they're going to be doing it with. So which staff members, how is that going to work? And then you can also add any individual tasks that fall within that PDSA. So for example, it might be that Joe Bloggs needs to raise awareness amongst the staff team that this particular wellbeing hour is going to run on a Friday at 3 p.m. So you can add that in as a task. Again, that will bring up another window where you can add individual tasks for each PDSA, and there might be several tasks. And another task might be getting everybody to sign up to the wellbeing group, something like that, deciding on a topic for each group. All of those things might form individual tasks that you want to set up separately. And you can again set due dates for each of those, people responsible for each of those, where they might happen. And then you click save. Sorry, that's not going to let me do that because I haven't actually entered any details. But anyway, so then you've got that. I've not put all the details in, but you get to the next page. You've then got the option to make a prediction about your PDSA. So what do you expect is going to happen by doing this? I suppose that in this example, you might want sorry about the stuff to yeah, that's just a very brief example off the top of my head, but you might add anything further to that. You might add something like reduce stress, etc. Whatever makes sense to you in terms of the particular idea that you're adding a PDSA for. And you can link it to a measure as well, but that's the sort of step further than most people go with adding PDSAs on here. But if you wanted to, you could link it to sort of your measure on enjoyment of being at work, for example. And then once you've added all your details, on this very last page, you click create PDSA cycle, and that will enable you to save all of the information you've just put in there. So I'll do that and then just delete it for this team afterwards. But there you can see that once you're then in your list of PDSAs, you've got it here on the sort of home page of the PDSAs. You can click edit to make any changes to that PDSA that you've just entered, and you'll also have the tasks that you entered separately linked to that. So again, that will, if you click on that, it'll bring up the list of whichever tasks you said you wanted to link, and you can add more in as you go, or delete them as they're sort of ticked off. So if I go into edit just to delete it now, you can see you've got all the detail down here. And then what you've got the option of next, sorry, before I delete it. So this is your plan stage that we just went through. You've then got the option of once you've done that, once you've executed that plan, you would look at what you did. You'd write up what happened when you started running that group. You'd then study that. You'd compare it to the predictions that you made, and then you'd decide how to act. So how you adapt it and how you do things differently to sort of ensure that any issues are ironed out, or you might want to just keep doing it the way that it's been done. All of that your coaches will go into in more detail in terms of actually how you use PDSAs. to their best sort of effect. But that just gives you all the options to add all of that in. You can then link any new cycles to that same initial PDSA. So for example, if you decide once you've done this that you need to make some changes, you need to modify it in a particular way, you add new cycle, it will still link it to that original one, and you can talk about the changes that you're making very specifically to that particular test. So I think that covers it. I'm going to delete it now just so that you don't still have that in there. Actually, I might not do that right on screen now. I'll just leave that till later on. We'll tidy it up before we invite this team to the program. But I think that was as much as I needed to cover in terms of PDSAs. Again, if there are any questions at this point, please let me know. Otherwise, the only other two areas I was going to very briefly show you is the discuss feature. So again, on that menu on your home page, you click on discuss, and you can, again, this box up here, you can start a new discussion. So when that comes up, you have the option to start a discussion that's, you can give it a title. Click next, and then you can invite members who you want to be involved in that discussion. Now you can either keep that discussion within your own project team, which would mean, you leave this selected, only members can view. That means only your project team will see it. But if you wanted to have a discussion that was more widely had with other teams on the collaborative, you can click this drop down menu here, and you can select everyone can view and post, which means you'll get the interactive kind of feature of talking across the collaborative with other people. So again, that's an option. I'm not going to save that now, so I'll just close it without saving. And the final aspect I was going to show you is the documents folder. So down on this side, you've got this little filing cabinet icon. If you click on that, you'll see that there's a folder called Program Documents. If you click on Program Documents, you'll see that we've added the Change Idea menu. So it's a document sort of across the collaborative that was pulled together by the expert design group that we had initially setting up this work, with a few change ideas that link to some of the secondary drivers that we've got on the driver diagram. It's not a particularly exhaustive list, but it does give you some starting point ideas if you are struggling to think of things. So you've all got access to that. Sorry, I didn't actually mean to open that up. My computer very often does things without me touching any buttons. And then you've also got the measurement plan, just the detailed measurement plan, which you've all had sight of, just to remind yourselves if you need to. And we'll add documents on there as we go along if there are relevant documents for a video across the collaborative. Although, to be quite honest, we tend to use our website for all of that information as well, so you would be able to access it there anyway. But if there's anything you want to store in there, you can do that yourselves as well for your team to view, etc. So I think that's it in terms of what I was going to take you through. If there are any questions at this point, please let me know. I'm going to stop. Well, actually, I won't stop sharing my screen in case you have questions and I need to show you something.
So that's a question from Sarah Lang.
Hi, yeah, sorry, it's going to be a really simple question. You stressed the importance of not clicking outside of the box when you're entering anything. So I make a lot of notes in OneNote. Does that mean I can't copy and paste? I know this is a really dim question.
No, it's not a dim question at all. And actually, I don't know the answer. I think I might have tried it before and I can't remember what the kind of outcome was. I apologise.
That's okay. So I think, well, I'll test it, but I'll make sure that that I do a test early on and haven't invested loads of time in it.
That's a good idea. So on your first pop-up window, before you've entered much detail, I'd just test whether you can paste something into the first fields on there. And if you can't, then yeah, obviously you'd know not to. But but yeah, you can see that when you've got 4 pages to fill in, you might be filling out all the detail of how a PDSA is going to run, and all of what you've decided in your group, and then you lose that. It's extremely frustrating, and it's happened to me a number of times. So I do, I recommend making sure.
Yeah, that's cool.
You've got that, and it's easy to do because it's this tiny little screen that just pops up in the middle. If you even by mistake you click on something, I mean, as you've seen, that my computer does it automatically without me actually pressing anything. But yeah, so just be careful. There are some things I don't know. I mean, LifeQI is a fantastic program. It works really well to sort of manage these sorts of large scale collaboratives, but there are things about it that aren't always completely intuitive, and there are often more steps to sort of go through something than you feel is necessary entirely. But they do a good job.
Can't see any other hands up at the moment. Does anyone else have any questions at this time? It is very difficult to make LifeQI seem exciting and fun, especially on a Monday morning. But I hope that you have kind of got a sense of there are some really useful features on it that we will be using through the collaborative. But as Kate mentioned, if at any point you want to kind of look at it a bit more, you want to know a bit more about any parts of the site, just let your coach know, and we can provide that support whenever.
Yeah. I always feel I have to apologise when I talk about LifeQI because I don't make it sound exciting, but it's a fantastic program to be able to deal with this kind of collaborative at this scale across this number of people. So we are very grateful to them for that.
We've got a question from Erica. Yeah, thank you so much for that presentation. That's very clear. Matt and Kate.
Erica, are you there? You put your hand up.
She's speaking, Matt.
Oh,
can you hear me?
I think I have a bad connection.
Can you hear me? So I'd just like to ask, would we be able to download the graphs to show our teams, our bigger teams?
Yes, you can do. So once you've actually got data in there that's showing up as a graph, Matt will have said that he used sort of dummy data at this stage, but once you've got all your data in there, that's exactly what we'd be encouraging you to do. It's a really good idea. So you just Matt, do you want me to show it while I'm still showing my screen? I can give you a very quick example of how you export the data.
Yeah, I'm doing it now quickly. Sorry, I lost my connection there.
No, that's okay. So you can do it in different ways. You can export it, but I would say, Erica, to be honest, the way I find easiest to take the data out is actually once you sort of click into the graph, I would just snip. So I'd use a screenshot option because you can export, but it just isn't easier, I don't find. So I tend to just use the snipping tool and draw. Sorry, that didn't work. Here we are. So I would just use this, and I'd do that, and then I'd save that image somewhere that you can then put into. We often put them into data dashboards or whatever, so we'll put all the charts in so you can see, and you can do that as well once you'll see you've got these annotated parts that you might have saved, and you can even snip it with those open so that you can actually see what the annotation says as well, which is why I think that's the easiest way to do it, because you can get the information you want quite easily viewed. But
thanks so much, Kay.
There is an option to export it, and I think if you click on actions here, it says export image there. So that's another option, but I find the snipping tool just a little easier, to be honest, and you don't have lots of fuss.
Thank you, that's a helpful tip.
All right, so I think I don't think there are any more hands up, and we've come to the end of the session. So thank you everyone for joining us this morning. Like I said before, the recording will be going up on the website, so that should hopefully be available by the end of the week. And if you do have any other questions or need any other support, then please do let your QI coach know. And I hope you all have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.